some Browns topics in terms of Myles Garrett. Before the trade, the Browns win-loss total on FanDuel was 6.5 wins. After the trade, it dropped down to 5.5 wins, so not a huge drop-off, but a defensive player impacting a win-loss in this regard is significant.
It's very rare.
Very rare.
There's almost no.
He's
probably the only defensive player in the league
that would have
move a team's win total.
Impact. ESPN updated its FPI rankings.
By the way, did the Rams number go up?
No, the Rams number stayed the same, but the odds on the Rams number changed.
Changed
ESPN released its updated FPI rankings. This is how it sees the Browns post Myles Garrett trade, a projected record.
Well, what's the difference? What it was, Mike? Do you know?
Like 3 points lower in almost everything.
Okay.
They had about a 10% chance to make the playoffs. That's fallen to 5.5. They had a 4.7% chance to win the division. That's dropped down to 1.1%. To reach the Super Bowl, 0.3. To win the Super Bowl, 0.1. ESPN has the Browns with the fourth best odds to get the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft. Earl, I want to start with you on this because you tweeted out yesterday.
Real quick before you go to Earl, who are the 3 teams that have the worst odds?
Cardinals,
Jets,
and
Titans,
yes. Cardinals, Jets, and Titans.
Yeah.
Earl, you had a tweet yesterday about Todd Monken possibly being the Bruce Arians of this generation and believing that because they got Jared Verse back in the trade, they're not going into some kind of rebuild, which is different than how the ESPN FPI metrics, which is just their football power index, it does not mean anything how they see the Browns. Are you confident the Browns can still contend for a playoff spot without Myles Garrett on the roster?
So I said that I felt like the Cleveland Browns can win 9 games, and that was with Myles Garrett on the roster. I still feel like the Cleveland Browns can go out here and win 9 games. My primary reason for even making that prediction to begin with is because I believe that Todd Monken can develop football players. I've talked about this a lot, G and Boyd, that he has a 30-plus year resume as an offensive guru who has gotten the most out of the talent that's been given to him. Excuse me. Whether that's at the collegiate level or at the NFL, we have proof that he can design productive offenses and he can get the most out of players. And so if I know that he is all about designing schemes that allow players to play fast and free and that he's about developing football players, then that's what I'm going to lean on. When I compared him to Bruce Arians, I just got to thinking about, there's a lot of talk of, he's 60 years old. This is his first time being a head coach. If he was that good of an offensive mind, he would have been a head coach before. And I think back to like that early 2010s era where Bruce Arians had pretty much stamped himself as a damn good offensive mind, a guy who had some success across the NFL and various spots, and he just got his opportunity late. When he got the Arizona Cardinals job, the Cardinals was coming off a 5-11 season. And his first year, he went 10-6 with Drew Stanton as his quarterback. He went 33-14 in his first 3 years and made the playoffs twice. I think about Kevin Stefanski, even here in Cleveland. Like, with it being a COVID year and Kevin Stefanski coming off that playoff game where the Minnesota Vikings offense looked horrific, there was a lot of talk in Cleveland sports media that nobody had faith that the Cleveland Browns were going to be able to win that season. They felt like every single circumstance that was surrounding the Browns, whether it be in COVID, a first-time head coach, this team not really being all that great, it was no way in the world that he was going to be able to turn that situation around. I think about Tony Sparano, God rest his soul. He get hired first-time head coach with the Miami Dolphins. Miami was like 1-15 a year before that. He brought Chad Pennington with him, of all people, and won 11 games his first year. In my mind, and maybe I'm crazy, I think you got your best shot to really do it as far as surprise people and win more games than when people expect your first time around before the book is out on you than furthermore. So yeah, I know what I said at the time, that if you're trying to win football games, you're better off doing that with Myles Garrett. But when I seen Andrew Berry opt to get Jared Verse instead of a 28 first round pick, that let me know that they were still serious about trying to go out here and win every game they can this season.
I believe that they're gonna go out there and try to win every game possible, but it's about who they trying to win every game possible with. So once you move Myles Garrett, first and foremost, I just need to give the disclaimer here. When you move Myles Garrett from a defensive standpoint, you're not just moving a regular player. You're moving a dude that has gravity. When I mean gravity is when every team comes into the game, they got 3 dudes on Myles Garrett. 3. Mason Graham was never getting doubled. Isaiah McGuire never gets doubled. Those guys up front, Alex Wright is never getting doubled. He makes your life as another player easy, simple. You know what the game plan is. Even if it's destructive to the point where it's like, all right, we might be predictable, but we can't run over this. The entire field, we can't run that way for Myles Garrett. They got Myles Garrett plays. So what I mean by saying this is, if I'm looking at my adjustments and I say, okay, the offense was going to be improved. I thought they were going to get better receiver play, better offensive line play. I thought that part was going to be improved. The premise of them getting 10 wins or competing for the division had to go on whether or not the defense can stay top 3, top 5 in the league. Even if you get Jared Verse, I don't believe that you're going to be a top 3 defense. That ain't what it is. So for me, I got to adjust. If I say they could have won 10 games, now I got to say, okay, what do you be happy with? Give me 7, and if you win 7 and a half or 8 games, now you turn yourself into a great story, because now you're gonna say, I not only won 7 or 8 games, I was competitive in each and every game. My offense improved, and now I got a bunch of young guys doing it. If they're able to do, and then plus you got to also look at it like this: Jim Schwartz is not here, Rudy is here, so now you got turnover at your best position. You got turnover at the coordinator. I can't just assume, based on not having Myles Garrett, that everybody now is going to just show up and be great. Jared Verse plays in a 3-4. He's going to have to get a chance to learn to play in a 4-3. Now I'm asking a question. If you don't have Myles Garrett, what are you going to be running? Because you run the wide 9 because you got Myles Garrett. Yeah. It's going to take time for people to figure it out and understand it. If the Browns defense, to me, can still be somewhere around 10, 11, and now you got guys like Mason Graham who come on. Jared Verse looks like he acclimates to a 4-3. You still got Tyson Campbell. E-Man looks like he's going to do something. Carson Sweatshirt take a step. I take that. So for me, I've adjusted what my thought process is for the team. I would rather go with a youth movement and go with young guys and try to see what I can do with the young guys. But I have to say, Myles Garrett, defensively, you're going to take a step back defensively because of what Myles Garrett just offers you just by him being on the football field.
You're 100% right when it comes to the defense. There's almost no chance the defense won't take a step back. You have lost not only your best player, but the most impactful defensive player in the sport.
Yes.
And at least the most impactful player since Aaron Donald. So you can't, no matter how good Jared Verse is, he's not Myles Garrett. I don't expect him to be. It's unfair to have expectations for him to be.
And it's unfair for you to say the defense is going to take no step back.
Right.
Like, that's just crazy.
And you have lost your defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Who, however much credit you want to give him, he's a veteran. He's had success. You talked about Todd Monken. Well, the DC had a ton of success.
Yeah, he did.
A lot of credit, right? The new DC's never been a DC before. He might be terrible at his job.
Carson Sweatshirt had a really good, he was the defensive rookie year under Jim Schwartz.
Yes, and with Myles Garrett in front of him.
So, yeah.
So that's a huge difference. So, listen, I wasn't as optimistic as you guys were even before this trade. Obviously, I thought there was no possible way they were going to win 9 games. That didn't seem realistic to me in any way. I thought they would win 6. Now I think they'll win 4 or 5. To me, Myles Garrett is the only player in football, the only defensive player in football, that changes win totals for me. Because I can tell you with 100% certainty that Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, no matter how good Jared Verse is, they both were celebrating the day Myles Garrett got traded.
Oh, boy. What are you talking about?
Especially Joe Burrow, because Myles Garrett has wreaked havoc on the Bengals.
And he's in the NFC? Gone. Bye.
Joey B out here like, yes.
You know, I remember people saying, oh, Kevin Stefanski is great against the Bengals, or Baker Mayfield is great against the Bengals. And there was some truth to both of those things. But the real truth was Myles Garrett was great against the Bengals. And he was the biggest reason why when the Browns have had those games, hasn't been as many in the last year or two, but especially when the Bengals were at their best, the Browns played them better than anybody, and by far the number one reason for that was Myles Garrett, because the Bengals like to have everybody out they don't like to have the tight end blocking.
They want people
everybody out. They want a lot of weapons, and either with Myles Garrett you either couldn't do that, or if you did, you didn't have as many options. So, and you have Denzel Ward, and Denzel Ward happened to also play great, better against Jamar Chase than anybody else in football. Well, now you don't have Myles Garrett, and it's going to be harder to stop that Bengals offense.
Yeah.
And it's going to be harder to stop that Ravens offense. And I know, and you guys obviously more optimistic than I at the quarterback position. And while I want Shedeur Sanders to play, I'm not confident that he's going to be that good. I hope he is. I'd like him to be good. It would be nice if the Browns didn't have to use any more draft capital at quarterback, but I'm not confident that's going to be the case. And even though I agree that the offensive line and wide receivers will be better and are on the right path, there's still a lot of unproven young players there. And to ask them to be a 9-10 win team now is just, listen, anything's possible. But if you play the season 100 times, the idea that the Browns would be over 500 more than one or two of those times is not realistic.
The expectation levels I think this could actually be one of the funnest seasons the Browns have had in a long time. And the reason I think it could be fun is because I go back and remember when the Browns had a young Myles Garrett and a young Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb and Denzel Ward and David Njoku. Those games, we weren't sitting around like, oh my gosh, the Browns are going to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. No, you got a chance to see young rookies and young guys perform at the highest level. And what you have right now is you got two back-to-back classes. You got a young quarterback that people are excited about, and he might get a chance to go out here and show what he can do. Yeah. You got a young running back. You got two young receivers. The thing is, the expectation levels at this point when you move Myles Garrett is not, oh my goodness, do we need 10 games? You're looking to see the improvement from your offense, your first-time head coach, what they look like. Yeah. And if you are playing young guys, look, if they win 7 games, but they are competitive in these games,
I'll be impressed if the Browns go 7-10.
If they win 7 games, if they win 7 games and are competitive with new young players, you can sell people that. Yeah, you can sell people that.
And by the way, I think Todd Monken's got a lot to prove because he's only been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, I think, for 5 or 6 years. And the last 3 or 4, I can't remember how many years he was in Baltimore, were with Lamar Jackson, who, I will agree that Lamar Jackson had his best seasons with Todd Monken. However, Lamar Jackson was already great without Todd Monken.
Yes.
He made him he contributed to his improvement, I'll say. But Lamar Jackson was already great. The only time he's been an OC without Lamar Jackson was 2019 in Cleveland, where Baker Mayfield had a bad year and the Browns were bad. Mm-hmm. And either 17 or 18 with Tampa Bay. I don't know who their quarterback was, but they stunk.
It was Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Oh, with Jameis Winston.
It was the year he threw 30-30.
Okay, but they stunk. They had a bad record that year. So, and they had a lot of talent on that offense because they had Mike Evans and Jameis Winston. So, to me, Todd Monken's got a lot to prove. He's never proven he can run a good offense in the NFL without Lamar Jackson. That's fact. At all his other jobs, he was not the OC, Mike. I mean, Georgia, but that's college. I don't care about that.
I look at it like this, Bull. Yeah. I think the pressure is even less on Todd Monken now after the trade.
I agree.
After the trade of Myles Garrett, I think a lot of people, even the people that are diehard Browns fans, are like, okay, cool. Like, you're in a position where now we get a chance to see. They're not going to ask them questions. So, to me, I think it's going to be one of the funnest years you get a chance to see the Browns because you have new young people to see what they can do.
And I think for most fans, the expectations of quarterback are low.
Yes, they're not.
And so if the quarterback, whoever it is, plays well, it's going to be for a lot of people
a pleasant
surprise.
If the quarterback plays well and you ain't expecting it and you don't expect wins, then you're going to get all the Kool-Aid. Yeah. Can you imagine me in October and they better? He better not be throwing for 300 yards and close in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, we have Wayne Randazzo coming up next, right?
Talking Cavs, Wayne's at 11:30.